I'm the Senior Data Protection Counsel for Richemont, so that means I cover these 19 companies globally, and I'm the sole person within the company doing this. It's a new role, so I took the role up in September. Prior to that, a couple of the IP lawyers looked after data protection as part of their roles, but of course they didn't have a background in privacy, shall we say. They're IP lawyers, so it was sort of a tag on to their roles. But then they sort of fought hard and realised they actually did need someone to focus on data protection. So where is the privacy function positioned within the organisation? Well, it is actually sitting within the IP legal team. And this is for the historical purposes that I mentioned here. We did have IP lawyers looking after data protection, so it seemed to them a natural progression to sit the data protection function within that area of the company. And actually, I have to say at first, I did wonder if that was a good place to be in terms of privacy, within a very specific legal area that isn't really connected legally to data protection. But I did think about it, and obviously now I've been there since September, and I see that there are some synergies to be drawn, because obviously intellectual property is looking after the intellectual property of the organisation. Data protection, it's another protectionary function. We're looking after another huge element of our data assets, which is obviously client data, but obviously we're looking after our HR data as well. So we're looking after data assets. So there is something in common in that sense. Due to the individuals within the IP legal team and our chief legal counsel, who is on the board of the company, we're very well connected in terms of having roots into the high-level layers of each of the maisons, which is very important, and I will talk about that later on. Remember, this is a new role in a company where IP lawyers have been helping a bit with data protection in a fragmented way. Someone turns up, wants to focus on this seriously across the 19 companies. They're not, some people are welcoming you with open arms, but not everybody. They don't necessarily all want to hear about this stuff. So, there are hurdles to cross and challenges to meet. But overall, my analysis now is that we are placed in a fine position in terms of structurally within the organisation. I'm not saying it's the best place, but it works. And the leadership of the company do acknowledge the importance of data protection. I have been to some very high-level meetings where the CEO of the company, the CFO of the company, they've actually said, yes, this is a #1 priority for us. We really do want to get data protection right, which is great, because having the backing of those high-level people within the company obviously makes the job a little bit easier. Okay, so balancing priorities. So, I've got two key objectives. One is to develop a global data protection program strategy at the Richemont corporate level, which will then be implemented across all of these 19 companies. That's quite a large task. Together with that, obviously, on a daily basis, these 19 companies have data protection queries and issues. So I'm basically needing to give support to 19 companies globally on data protection matters. So this is clearly quite a struggle in a way to spend time on both of these things, because clearly we need to address urgent issues that come up every day, but we need to move away from doing things in a firefighting mode, and we need to get sort of strong policies, processes and procedures in place that will help us move away from that way of dealing with things. I mean, you'll never 100%, obviously, as you'll all be aware, get away from firefighting. There'll always be an element, but I think a lot of things that we are dealing with on that sort of daily firefighting basis can be dealt with a lot better by having an established set of processes and procedures in place across the board. So in addition to sort of these two key priorities, I am getting involved in a lot of global projects. I do have to travel quite a bit. And, another thing is that I need to grow the team, because, I'm not going to be able to do this whole thing on my own without support. It just is not possible. So that's the key challenge. They are the challenges. How can I achieve them? Well, as I've just said, it's important to recognise you can't do everything. And as much as, we perhaps like to do things and think, yes, I can do this, it's more than a one-person job. So it's important to recognise that. And also for the organisation to recognise the scale of the task in hand. So that is something that they need to be made aware of. And what goes hand in hand with that is the need for resources. So, as I say, I arrived in September. I now have a secondee from a law firm working with me, and he's been there since February. And I also have a PA. So when I arrived, I had neither of these. And it's not easy to get resources. You do have to make quite a case for it. But, I still need more. So I won't be stopping there. But, I think I've achieved quite a good standard so far in terms of the organisation recognising the scale of this task, because they didn't know really the scale of it until they had someone to come in and have a look at what was going on and assess what needed to be done, which is what I've been able to do. And now, on an ongoing basis, they are recognising the scale of this task in hand and the fact that, they are going to need to put resources behind it.